Welcome to the Michael Blum Show, where we talk about things you don't want to talk about. We talk about sex. We talk about politics. We talk spirituality and substance abuse. Join us by calling 800-699-0980. Think, speak, and be heard. Here now is Michael Blum. Hey there, everybody. It's the Michael Blum Show. Hope you had a good week. I hope everything is fine in your life and everything is just hunky-dory and dandy because it is in mine. So why not share the joy? You know, we have the joy of the election night today. This is the first show I've done in a long time about politics. And it's because politics, after a while, gets to be monotonous and boring to me. And I prefer to do things more like we did maybe last week, which is discuss the White Album of the Beatles. Or the week before that, where we talked about what did we do? We talked about sexual addiction. Or the time before that, where we talked about cybercrime. So, you know, every now and then, though, I think I have to get back to it because because I do have my opinions and my thoughts on everything. And I want this to really be a call-in show tonight. So I'd like you, the number here again is 800-699-0980, 800-699-0980. I'd like you to call in, tell me who you're voting for and why. You know, I'm not going to yell at you, I'm not going to scream at you, I'm not going to do anything mean and nasty. I would just like to hear a variety of opinions because I know what mine are. And if I just repeat my opinions, that also gets boring after a while. So I'd like to have some input from somebody out there. Again, the 800 number is 800-699-0980. Again, 800-699-0980. I'll throw this little title up every now and then so you know what you're listening to, and you'll have the phone number also. You know, if you know me, which you probably don't, but if you know anything about my political philosophy, basically, as I love the United States and I love America, but I hate the people who run it. And I think most people in the United States would agree with that. Because the approval rating for 2018 for Congress in general is 19%. 19% of the people approve of Congress and what they're doing and how they function and what they do. And election night is always weird to me because I don't know about you, but if I had $1 for every solicitation within the last 3 weeks that I had, either by phone, cell phone, email, you name it, I could probably retire right now. And I'm sure a lot of people are in the same boat. I don't know about the independents or people who are not sure about what's going on. It seems to me rather obvious difference in choices. But you have to realize that there's an old adage that basically says Republicans are red and Democrats are blue, and none of them really give a crap about you. And it is so true. These politicians come out of the woodwork like roaches whenever there's an election, so they can go ahead and spew their moronic nonsense and tell you about all the things that they will never do. Trump is kind of a weird exception because in my lifetime, I don't ever really remember a president actually completing and doing things that they said they would do. Very, very few, and certainly not as prolifically. But, you know, in today's world, it doesn't make a difference about the truth or about facts or what's happening. It's more about how you feel about things. And I hear quite often, oh, I don't, he's so uncouth. He's just not a nice man. He hates women. Yeah, well, you have to ignore a hell of a lot if you want to go ahead and be like that. But basically, you got to realize that in terms of Congress, in terms of elected officials, you are meaningless to them. Meaningless. I used to think we appeared somewhere in the top 10 as like, you know, take care of your constituents. Don't give a goddamn anymore. You are meaningless. They get into office, and then they do what their special interests, the people who've given them millions and millions and millions of dollars, want them to do. In the state of Florida, we had a horrible year right now with all sorts of pollution and algae formations in the water and all of that. And you know what? Bill Nelson, when he went into the Senate almost 20 years ago, said he would do something about it, and it wasn't done. And there have been Republican senators too, and it wasn't done. Why wasn't it done? Answer? because they don't want to do it. The sugar industry is paying both parties so much money that they're not going to do it. They're just not. They're not going to do it. Healthcare and rising drug costs, well, we're going to control drug costs. We're going to make sure that everybody can afford whatever medication. All bullshit. All nonsense. Politicians are BS 99% of the time. The only time they attempt to get serious, and they really don't care. They'll say whatever it is to get elected. The state of Florida, they would see you drop dead from drinking polluted water before they will ever actually do something about it. Same thing with gun control. You know, if you believe that that's something that needs to happen, forget it. A third of the Democrats, believe it or not, take money from the NRA, and almost all the Republicans do. It's never going to happen. And they can yell and scream and tell you in election time, well, you elect me and I'll do anything. You know, it reminds me of the old, I wish I was allowed to play it. I can't for copyright reasons. Ball of confusion. You know, vote for me and I'll set you free. It's all nonsense. Just absolute nonsense. Feel free to give me a call. Again, the number here is 800-699-0980, 800-699-0980. I hope you can hear my voice and I hope you participate. If not, it'll be a relatively quick show because I don't mind doing a monologue, but I'm not going to do it for an hour and a half. So, anywho, 800-699-0980. We know you're out there, and I'm more than happy to take your call. But basically, that's what it is. You want to see this country change, forget elections, forget all that nonsense. That's all BS. Staged for your enjoyment. Do campaign reform. And I'm going to suggest some things, but then my question to you is, who would actually vote for it? What you got to do is you got to get the money out of politics. Then you'll see something real. Like, for instance, no corporate donations are allowed at all anymore. The most an individual can give is $1,000. Set something up so that there's going to be 10 debates, 20 debates, whatever you want. You can go ahead and split that up amongst the networks that want to have that, and that's it. All recorded announcements on TV and radio have to be from the candidates themselves. And if you did that, and you just got rid of all of the corporate buying of politicians, they keep the politicians in their pockets. Then you might see things get done because there's no money incentive to not do the right thing. Let me see, should I do the right thing or become a millionaire? Should I do the right thing for those black folk that have been living in those Democratic districts for so many years that still have the worst schools, the worst poverty, the worst crime? Nah, forget it. Why would I do something about them? And you top that off with the fact that, whatever's happened or what's left of the Democratic Party, and who knows what that is. Where are the statesmen? Where's Hubert Humphrey, Patrick Moynihan, and many other guys I didn't particularly agree with necessarily, but they were there. These people would be laughed out of the Senate floor. JFK, ask not what you can what you do for yourself, but ask what you can do for your country. Really? He'd be booed and laughed off the stage. You mean I have to do something for my country? You know, I mean, where we're at right now is people who are in the caravan, also staged for your enjoyment, that are coming to the United States. And my favorite group is the one that they're doing this with the Honduran flags, burning the American flags. So they're burning the flags of the country that might let them in. They're not refugees. They're not politically entitled to asylum. They live in a crummy country, and it's easier to go ahead and suck off the tits of the United States than it is to correct their own country. That's why they're coming here. They're not coming here to be Americans. They're not coming here to join American culture, whatever that is, if there is any of that left anymore. They could care less. They're coming here to get money. And that's the story with it, the big caravan, all of that, and that's been the playbook for this midterm election cycle, which is very, very important. And this is the only chance that we have as people to go ahead and have a say in anything. It is the only poll that actually counts. But basically, you have pretty much all of the Democrats yelling and screaming, "Well, what about health care? People need health care. There's no health care." Do they not remember Obamacare? I mean, they have such a short selective memory, it seems to me. You can keep your doctor. You remember? You can keep your doctor. You want to keep your doctor? Keep your doctor. You know, you can do that. Go ahead, keep your doctor. You can keep your plan. You can keep your plan. You'll keep your plan. It's going to drive costs. Costs are going to go down. Costs are going to go down. Bullshit. All nonsense, all a lie, and all ridiculous. And that's how it is in the big world today. But you don't need to necessarily believe me. You can hear things in people's own voices. Like, let's go ahead and check this out. I hope you enjoy this. I'm sure you will.
Testifying on Capitol Hill today, the administrator for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which rolled out the much-maligned website for the Affordable Care Act, she said something we haven't heard yet from anyone in the Obama administration.
I want to apologize to you that the website has not worked as...
That's the website that they decided to give to Canada. You see, the United States, why should the United States or a company in the United States develop that website? Let's give it to my cronies out in Canada.
As well as it should. We know how desperately you need affordable coverage.
Okay, but what about the people who want nothing to do with this website because they already have insurance they're happy with? She continued to say that Americans can keep plans they like, and Republicans hammered her for it.
I am aware that there are issuers in states who are canceling their old plans, which were grandfathered in, and moving to new plans, which have to meet.
So what you just said about keeping your health care plan isn't true?
No, they could keep it. The issuers chose.
No, they can't keep it. They just got cancellation notices. Why are you saying you can? I don't understand.
All right, time has expired.
That point about keeping your health care plan, that's an important one. How many times did we hear this from the president?
If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
But that was never the whole story. It was
a frickin' liar, period.
Simply not credible that the Obama administration and Congress would make a number of sweeping changes to health insurance and everyone would still get to keep their health care plan and their doctor. Back in 2010, the Obama administration vaguely acknowledged this by noting the high rate of turnover when it came to the 14 million individuals who have private insurance as opposed to group plans tucked in the Federal Register. The Obama administration noted the normal turnover rate for individual insurance is up to 67%, and that because of changes mandated to plans by Obamacare, turnover would likely exceed that range. We haven't even mentioned the employers who are pushing workers off their plans and onto the Obamacare exchange because it's cheaper. This doesn't sound like if you like your plan, you can keep your plan. And in fact, back in 2009, a young White House correspondent challenged the president on that issue, noting that some of the proposals being discussed might have resulted in folks being forced into new plans against their wishes.
What about keeping your promise to the American people that they won't have to change plans even if employers...
Well, no. I mean, when I say if you have your plan and you like it and your doctor has a plan, or you have a doctor and you like your doctor, that you don't have to change plans. What I'm saying...
So let's see, I'm in the insurance business and I can go ahead and get onto this Obamacare stuff, and it'll cost my company a lot less to go ahead and insure people because you now have $10,000 deductibles. And so what should I do? Should we keep all of these plans where we're going to lose money, or should we go into something else and make more money? So let's go ahead and cancel out all of our plans, and you're stuck. We know what happened with all of this. We know that there are certain states that had one provider. Yet the Democrats screaming Obamacare, oh yeah, we need health care. Oh, I mean, do they not remember any of this? Or do they care not to remember it? Or they really just don't care, which is the true answer. Because they don't care about giving you health care. You can just drop dead. And I got to tell you, I read through most of the, not most of it, I stopped when I got to the death panels part. Anyone who tells you there were no death panels in Obamacare is lying. It is not the truth. They were funded a certain amount of money for certain diseases, and when that ran out for that year, you're dead. Forget it. I remember, and I searched, I got to tell you that I searched for like hours today to try to find the town hall where some older man talks about his mother who's in her 90s and she has full faculty and she's healthy and all of that. And if she had a horrible, dreadful disease, what would happen? And basically, you had tap dancing Obama there, T for two, and basically he said, "We will make her comfortable as she dies."
Is the government is not going to make you change plans under health reform.
That's the key. The government is not going to make you change plans through health reform, though the government might impose a situation that would cause a change of plans for you. So the promise was never quite as presented, and yet the president kept presenting it that way.
That's because the president's a liar. They all lie, by the way. I don't mean to single out Obama as a liar, but there are different levels of lying. You know, if someone goes into your house and says, "Where's your wife? I want to kill her," and she's in the laundry room, you might not say she's in the laundry room. You'll lie. Oh, that's a white lie. You know, one that really is not consequential like that. Then there are people who just lie to feel better and feel good. Then there's conspiratorial lying. And that's what the Obama administration did, and that's what Democrats will do. And if the Democrats take over the House, that's what you're going to see happen. And that's a whole different type of lying. That's a bunch of them getting together, deciding this is what our lie will be. Let's feed it to the media. And that was Jake Tapper. Well, what the hell happened to the media? You know, I mean, there are tons and tons of shooting under Obama. You know, I don't remember anyone ever blaming him for any of it. But Trump gets blamed for it. Trump got blamed for a hurricane. This is the kind of moronic lunacy that's become the Democratic Party. I used to be a Democrat way, way, way back when. And truth, the adage is, it basically is that I didn't leave the Democrats, they left me. They are now the Socialist Party of America. And I hope people realize that when they're out voting, because that's the truth. You have either the Party of America or the Party of Hatred of America. If you hate America, chances are you are going to be you're going to be a Democrat. If you think white people are the problem in the United States, chances are you're a Democrat. If you think that white terrorism, whatever you happen to define that at the moment, is worse than Muslim extremist terrorism, then you're probably a Democrat. If you don't really care for this country at all, then you are a Democrat. I mean, let's face it. Look at everything that's gone on this last year. The economy is as good as it's ever been, or has been in many, many, many years. Black unemployment is at a world's record low in the United States, as is Hispanic. You'd think this would mean something. The economy is better now than it has ever been. There's intense growth. The job numbers look fantastic. Everything seems to be working and popping. We're out of all of these ridiculous trade agreements that are being renegotiated. Rocket Man isn't firing a missile every other week into Japan. Oh, what? Well, forget that. You won't even hear about it. It's not even reported. It's just not reported. So let's see. If the Democrats take over the House, you will see an absolute change in the economy. You will see people then in more poverty and in more need. Now, why would the Democrats want that? Because this new type of Democrat, they don't want you to do well. They want you to fail. They have no interest in people who are entrepreneurial. They have no interest in people who are go-getters or self-actualized. They want subservient dogs, like the black community became under Obama, that they can go ahead and throw a bone at every now and then that guarantees them an election. What do you think with this migrant stuff? You think they want all these people in there? They really don't. But it's their voting base. They figure they'll have another group of subservient people who will always vote their way because what choice would they have? If they vote somewhere else, they'll just put the fear of, well, you know, the Republicans, are you going to die in the street and you're going to have hunger and this stuff I hear every election cycle for my entire adult life. All BS brought to you by both parties for your entertainment value. I mean, it really is amazing what goes on. Let's see. I got one other thing. This came to my attention. I thought this was interesting. This is a Project Veritas hidden camera thing. I don't know how they get away with it. I imagine they just get sued all the time because this is done in Florida. And in Florida, you need permission. Both parties have to be aware that anything's being taped or said, unless it's just video or unless it's to surveil your own house or your business, things like that. But we have two people running. One is DeSantis, who's basically a follower of Obama, an Obamaite, a trumpeter, if you will. And we have Gillum, who everyone was shocked actually got the nomination for the Democratic Party. He is basically a socialist. And of course, everything will be given to everybody in this state for free. More nonsense, more garbage. Every single thing this guy says is garbage. Everything that DeSantis says is garbage. Because they will only do what those power brokers have paid them to do. You don't count. Feel free to give me a call again, 800-699-0980. That's 800-699-0980. So anyway, Project Veritas comes up with this thing. It's quite amazing.
That, the corporate tax he's counting on corporate tax to cover all of the programs that he wants to fund.
Right. I will absolutely not raise taxes on everyday working Floridians to give access to additional
What about wealthier people?
So what I said, and I ran on this, by the way, is that we will increase taxes for corporations in our state.
But what if do you want to put all your eggs in one basket? What if that doesn't work out? What else would happen? How would he get money?
Yes.
So then none of the programs that people are hoping for would happen?
Basically.
Well, do voters know that?
I know.
Do voters know that?
That's not for them to know.
Huh?
That's not for them to know. Remember I was saying?
I know exactly.
Modern day fairy tales start with once I am elected.
So, are you suggesting that that we should keep this a well-kept secret?
Yes. Why wouldn't we?
Omar Smith, paid by Florida's Democratic Party, works full-time in the Gillum campaign effort. His honesty is refreshing, especially when it comes to who the real Gillum is. And Smith should know. He went to college with Gillum.
We went to college together.
You did? Yeah. With him?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's how you know him?
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
So you were fighting all the good fights together?
A couple of them.
I didn't know y'all went to college together. That's cool. I didn't know that. So what was he doing? Was he active in college or what?
Yeah, he was the SGA president.
Oh, okay.
We were making a lot of noise.
All right.
We worked hard for the law school, the FAMU Law School.
Okay.
We made a lot of noise for that. A whole lot of noise.
Whole lot of noise. That's all you're going to get is a whole lot of noise. There are some other racist comments too there, but I have to caution people. This is not Gillum talking. This is a full-time staffer of his that knows him really well. Some politicians are smart enough not to actually say things that are that stupid. But it is refreshing to hear someone say that basically you're not going to get anything that this guy says. He's going to try to suck up as much money and put it in his pocket as possible, like every other politician does. And he's going to go ahead and whoever paid him to get into office, and I understand it was quite expensive in this governorship race, that's who he's going to work for. Not for you, not for the people. It's no longer we the people. It's more like the movie Network, where there is no such thing as the United States. There is no such thing as at the time it was the Soviet Union. There's Union Carbide and General Mills. And right now there's Google. These are the people who your politicians work for, not for you. They will throw you a bone so that you'll feel something is happening, and perhaps you will just continue to vote for them. And that's pretty much it. Special interests... that's what happens. Now, how can you fix all of that? Again, I mentioned campaign finance, but again, who's going to vote for that? You're going to try to amend the Constitution and put in like term limits? You think any of these yutzes in Congress will ever vote for that? How would you change that? You'd have to get the states together to do that. Another Herculean task that will never happen. Congress of states, all the governors get together and they can actually petition and change the Constitution. Whoops, just kicked my computer. They can actually change the Constitution without dealing with Congress at all. Never happened either. I mean, maybe if things get horrifically bad and really, really bad, then maybe then there'll be some change then. But who knows? Anyway, folks, again, give me a call. I'll even put this little dingy thingy up here. Give me a call, 800-699-0980. I do want to hear from you. I'd like to know what's going on with you. So basically, we talked a little bit about the Democrats screaming about health care. And of course, I guess they would like to resurrect a dead plan that was meant to fail from the beginning. Unfortunately, Hillary Clinton, for the Democrats, was not elected. You know, we'd know so little about our government. We really would know how corrupt anything is. But most of you probably don't know that because you don't go ahead and look for it. And the news never reports it. That thing with Jake Tapper, you're never going to find that again now. Not with Trump being president, because he's so vulgar. He's so terrible. I can't stand him. Oh, he's just mean. Oh, he hates women. Look at what he does, not what he says. I'm way more concerned with results than I am that someone said he would grab a pussy 15 years ago. When I was a young guy, I probably would have said the same thing. Doesn't mean I hate women. Doesn't mean I don't treat them well. And we'll get into that maybe a little bit later. You know, oh no, let's get into it now. I mean, we were talking about, let's see, Trump. He hates women so much, you know. I mean, it's quite amazing. But he was able to accomplish something, I guess, that Obama never did, and Bush never did, and Clinton never did. And what is this amazing feat that Trump was able to do? And the answer is he's hired an astounding number of women into senior level positions in the White House. In 2018, women have been realized by this administration. But you'll never hear it. You'll hear about Billy Bush's interview when he was in a bus before a real interview with an open mic that he probably was not aware of, saying, yeah, you get so rich, they let you do whatever you want. You become famous, I could grab him by the pussy. How can you say that? What a derogatory... Has he said other things nasty about women? I heard him say some really mean, crappy things about Rosie, whatever her name is. Oh, I don't even remember. But you know who I mean, Loudmouth Rosie, and I'd say the same thing about her. He is a little bit preoccupied, you know, with how people look. I know that, who was it? During one of the debates, it was Rand Paul, mentioned something about his hair. And he said, well, you know, I can comment a lot about your face. And believe me, there's a lot there to comment about. So, and then Marco Rubio with penis size and hands and all that. I mean, things, you know, I didn't vote for the guy because he was a great orator or the most couth person in the world. I voted him to drain the swamp. And I'm not 100% happy with what he's done. It was up to me. The first day I was in office, everybody I could conceivably fire, who was hired by previous administrations, would be gone completely. And you wouldn't have a Comey issue. You wouldn't have the Rod Rosenstein issue. You wouldn't have Mueller investigation. You'd have none of that. They would all be gone day one. But I have a feeling Reince Priebus, his first chief of staff, said, look, you can't do that much that quickly. Let's go ahead. Let's get our feet wet. And here we are with the ridiculous mess that we have. But anyway, luckily for women, actually Trump is in office. Isn't that amazing? Amazing. Even though he's hated by so many of them for, like, silly women. I don't mean that. I don't mean because of silly comments about women many, many years ago. And, you know, the media, they don't report that. You know what they'll report instead? They'll report only the white guys that he nominates to people, okay? And the fact that this was actually a myth and it was perpetrated by, of all people, Nancy Pelosi. Shocking, isn't it? And she said, basically, the only people he wants to deal with is guys named Steve, which is 100% false, you know? It's unbelievable, but one of the greatest, I think one of the greatest things he's done in the first year is actually the empowerment of women. Stock market. though I don't really credit that to presidents, is doing really well under his administration. Unemployment, 17-year low. He lowered it by 76% unemployment in 2 years. What a terrible president. Who would do that? Mr. Rocket Man isn't lobbing missiles into the Sea of Japan every other week. There's been more than $1 million in bonuses given to American workers in the last 3 weeks thanks to his tax reform stuff. And of course, the media will report all of this. Nah, I'm only kidding. Why don't they give them credit? Why wouldn't the media give them credit? If Hillary was president and this was happening, you bet they'd give her credit. She'd be the most amazing person in the world. And why won't the media do it? The media won't do it because he's a Republican. Well, what difference does that make? Really, what difference would that make that he's a Republican? Well, I don't know if you know this, but 93% of all journalists go ahead and identify themselves as being Democrats. 7% of the journalists out there are Republican. 93% Democrats. And an overwhelming majority of those journalists contributed an intense amount of money to Hillary Clinton. So there you go. So there you have your reason for your bias. And in terms of women, I mean, let's say Nikki Haley, Ambassador to the United Nations, Elaine Chao, Secretary of Transportation, Kirstjen Nielsen, Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Dr. Heather Wilson, Secretary of the Air Force, Sarah Sanders, White House Press Secretary, Kelly Conway, Counsel to the President, and I think the first woman that ever ran a presidential campaign, Linda McMahon, Administrator of the Small Business Association, Betty DeVos, Secretary of Education, Jovita Carranza, U.S. Treasurer, also a minority, she's Mexican-American, Naomi Rao, the regulation czar. Her parents are from India, by the way. Let's see, Seema Verma, Administration for the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services, also another minority. Heather Brand, Associate Attorney General. Kelly Sater. The list just goes on and on and on. Kelly Sater, Mercedes Schlapp, Senior Communications Advisor. Her father was actually a political prisoner, true political prisoner held by Castro. Let's see what else we got. Jessica Dito, Department of Communications. Dina Powell. You can go on and on like this. And if liberals had any shred of intellectual honesty left with them, they would admit this. They would admit that Trump's placement of women in senior level positions is impressive and will establish actually a precedent that would actually help their granddaughters and their female children. But they don't care. They really don't. They want power, money, greed. The way to do it? I mean, you know, civil service job. I mean, what did Harry Reid, when he retires, worth like $32 million? How do you do that? You want to know how to do that? There's a book, gosh, I don't remember the guy's name, Peter or something or other, but basically it's how the Democrats get rich. And the left will never admit anything that this president has done that's good. Come on, folks. I mean, there's good and bad in each president. I'm sure you can find something that Obama did right. I don't know what that might be, and it's probably small as compared to like controlling the economy or having black unemployment the lowest it's ever been recorded ever in the United States. Hope black folk know that. Get rid of that. You're going to go ahead. You know, you want to see the worst poverty. You want to see the worst education systems. You want to see the worst crime. Go to any place that's been run by Democrats for a decade or two. That's where you'll find it. The worst. Obama did nothing for black folk other than maybe give them a little bit of a esprit and a feeling of accomplishment because he's the first black president. What a shame. This guy could have united people, and I was hoping for a post-racial United States after he was elected. How'd that work out? Unbelievable. Worse racial relationships now than we've ever had. Why? How could you? Well, what's that? Well, what's that about? You know, I mean, well, when you have someone like Al Sharpton, who, by the way, has never paid taxes and is like a multimillionaire. He just strong-arms companies and to do things and give him money. Otherwise, he'll go ahead and call them racist. He is, I think, he was the most repeat visitor at the White House. I think he was there 75 times. And this is a guy who basically helped organized riots against Jews in the Crown Heights section of Brooklyn many, many years ago, along with his friend, Jesse, the Jew hater Jackson, who worked in Hymietown, is that what he called it? Imagine that. Can you imagine a politician saying about the black community, we got to go to Leroyville? Don't care. It's okay. Why? Because they're in the party. They're having a party. The party can say and do what they'd like. And it makes no difference. Because they're in the party. So, anyway, no matter what you might think of Trump, basically he's basically done more for women than other leaders have done also. This guy is rather prolific. It's a shame. It's a shame. Democrats, I don't know. They've just lost it to me. Democrats have lost it. I mean, there was a Saturday Night Live during the Brett Kavanaugh thing where they used the word queen to describe Senator Lindsey Graham because they thought he was secretly gay. Can you imagine someone on the other side calling someone a queen? They didn't complain. No one complained. Media didn't complain. When Don Lemon calls Kanye West a token Negro, no one complained. They're not gonna. Why should they? They're in the party. I mean, obviously, if someone on the other side called someone a token Negro or a queen, you'd hear about it. It would be like all over the news because it would be so horrific and terrible. Unless, of course, I say it. So you see, you got to do what I say, not what I do. That's the Democratic philosophy. I think that's should be their running platform slogan. Look, only right-wing mobs. I mean, those white supremacists, all 10 of them, that live up in who knows where in the Ozarks and where. There's like 8,000 actually Ku Klux Klan members. And by the way, the Ku Klux Klan is a Democratic invention. I don't know if I have a video. I used to have a good video on that. Let me see if I got it. I don't think I put it in. I don't think I got it, but let me just check for a moment because this would be interesting too. It would be on list 6. No. I could find it, but I'm not going to. But basically, the only Republicans can create mobs. There's no such thing as a Democratic mob. Creepy Antifa kids going ahead and harassing people and old folks in Portland. So what? Gangs of progressive screamers showing up in restaurants, publicly harassing Republican officials and politicians. So what? Shooting at them while they're playing ball games. So what? They're not really mobs, you see, because they're justified. They are principled young youth of America, and they're going ahead and they're trying to go ahead and just make sure that their voices are heard, and this way we can have a kinder, more wonderful world for every American under socialism. This is it, folks. If you're voting Democrat, this is what you're voting for. And, look with Judge Kavanaugh. Look what happened with that. It's unbelievable. Kavanaugh and Sanders, because of all the nonsense from the left, now have 24/7 armed security guards. They can't, they can't help that. They have to. They have to go ahead and protect themselves. It's the Democratic Party and those nasty progressives who have taken over, willing to do anything and everything that they can. And I think eventually they will try to shoot and kill Donald Trump. Because that's what the left does. I mean, they're trying everything. They're trying everything. They're hoping that this night, I hope they lose in droves tonight. I hope it's a repeat of Clinton. I'm not sure that it will. Historically, I don't think it'll happen. I think that there'll be a narrow margin. Nothing will change, but there'll be a narrow margin enough to go ahead and make sure nothing happens for the rest of the next 2 years under Trump, and maybe even reverse all the good stuff he's done. Why? Why would they do that? They don't want you to prosper. They want you to fail. That's why. No Scoop Jacksons anymore. No Humphreys. No Moynahans. They're relics of the Democratic past, and they don't exist. This party, to me, it's not the party of FDR. It's the party of destroying the United States for their own means, and they're going to go ahead and use their own methods to do that. well, let's see, can we get, oh yeah, well, this is kind of like in the same thing. I have a friend of mine who's been in radio broadcasting. His name is Earl Trout for many, many years. I hope he doesn't mind. But he, most of his posts are usually very light and humorous, but basically he kind of gave that up on his last one. And said, what happened in California frequently spreads eastward. I think that we should put the border wall up between California and Nevada. And we should go ahead and the toilet of the United States can become California. Take those caravans, bring them to Malibu Beach, and let them have a field day in the state that's a sanctuary state that just loves everybody in the world. Go ahead and send them there. You see how fast they'll change. You see, liberals don't mind doing anything. They don't mind spending money unless it's theirs. They don't mind go ahead and telling you what to do unless they have to comply as well. And, you know, that's how it is. So let's see. California, this is the things that are bothering Uncle Earl. California legislation forced a comprehensive sexual education law. It's Law AB 329. And I don't think they're teaching them about birds and the bees, the children. Some of the stuff you might not even know about unless you're part of the LGBTQRSTLMNOP community. Totally inappropriate topics being taught legally to children as young as kindergarten. Give you an idea, it depends on the teacher in charge. So, New Youth Abortion Storyteller Program. Any girl at any age, at any time can say, I feel like a boy. And the school must allow her to undress and shower with the boys in the boys' locker. Any boy of any age can say, I feel like a girl. And the school must allow him to undress and shower with the girls in the girls' locker. How progressive. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that how parents, you know, they want to take over your jobs. And since most parents don't mind that, I think that might happen. 1/3 of all homeless people now in the United States live in California. We should get more of them in there, as many as possible. Because of California legislation, it eliminated illegal narcotics consequences. Druggies from all over the United States have moved to California, so they can drug up in the street. You got to watch where you walk in San Francisco now, because you can get stuck with a needle or step in human excrement. Worse, the news report that I said, it's worse than the slums of India. It's unbelievable. Jerry Brown's watch. More murderers have been released from California prison than at any time during any other Californian's history since 1940. However, California has achieved a lower crime rate in 2018. How could you do both? How could you let all these murderers out and have a lower crime rate? Well, it's easy, you see, if you just redefine what crime is. So you can be caught stealing in California, stealing both a gun and a car while possessing heroin and date rape drugs after shoplifting less than $1,000, and you won't be arrested. They're all misdemeanors. It's like, sir, I'm sorry, we have to give you a ticket here. You were jaywalking. Okay. Sir, I'm sorry, here, we got to give you a ticket. You're using a gun to steal a car. You know, so the crime rate's really good there. Okay. California can't afford to repair any of its infrastructure, bridges and things like that, because they spend $30 billion on illegal aliens, including those who are deported multiple times and are guilty of multiple crimes. They don't seem to care about that. And that's why the state of California created a $52 billion tax increase. Unbelievable. Living in California is not a pleasure. It is a beautiful state. The weather is perfect, but it's not a great place to live. See, angry Cali citizens would be voting yes for the Gas Tax Repeal Act, but the proposition was changed, and it might not pass now because it changed its name from the Gas Tax Repeal to Road Repair Cancellation. So, the truth is that the Democratic Party has wholly and solely been in charge of California in an unbroken stream for about 22 years. If you like what's happening in California, vote Democratic. Because if you like that, you'll certainly love the Democrats when they get into power again. I'm talking 45 minutes. Not one person's called me up. Give me a call, 800-699-0980. Again, that's 800-699-0980. There's been a lot of, now the other side, we talked about that if you're listening to Democrats, well, they want you to die because there's no health care. You got to die. You're going to die. We need Obamacare. And they just forget everything we talked about earlier. And if you're listening to the Republican side, it's illegal aliens, illegal aliens, illegal aliens, illegal aliens. I know it's a big chore and a big problem, but it's not every problem. But you see, both sides think you're too stupid as a human being to go ahead and actually handle more than the fodder they give to you. Democratic or Republican, I really don't care. So let's see, what have people actually said about illegal immigration? You know, it's funny how things kind of switch up sometimes. But let's see, we can go ahead and do this. Let's hear, this is Nancy Pelosi, by the way, talking about illegal immigration.
I think we can enforce our borders. I think we should enforce our borders. To have a situation where 40% of the babies born on Medicaid in California today are born of illegal immigrants creates a very real problem.
This is before she went nuts.
Which is in deficit.
Look, of course you can enforce the borders.
Let me finish.
I agree.
To have 17% of our prison population at a cost of $300 million a year be illegal immigrants who come here and commit felonies. That's not what this nation is all about.
People who enter the United States
Chuck
without
Schumer.
our permission are illegal aliens, and illegal aliens should not be treated the same as people who entered the U.S. legally. When we use phrases like undocumented workers, we convey a message to the American people that their government is not serious about combating illegal immigration, which the American people overwhelmingly oppose.
There is bipartisan hope of getting it done. This year, the Senate passed an immigration reform bill by a wide bipartisan majority, and it addresses the key issues that need to be addressed. It would strengthen our borders. It would level the playing field by holding employers accountable if they knowingly hire undocumented workers. It would modernize our legal immigration system so that we eliminate the backlog of family visas and make it easier to attract highly skilled entrepreneurs from beyond our
What
borders.
happened to the Democrats?
It would make sure that everybody plays by the same rules by providing a pathway to earn citizenship for those who are living in the shadows. A path that includes passing a background check and learning English and paying taxes and a penalty and getting in line behind everyone trying to come here the right way. And each of these pieces would go a long way towards fixing our broken immigration system. Each of them has been supported by Democrats and Republicans in the past. There's no reason we can't come together and get it done. And what's more, we know the immigration reform that we're proposing would boost our economy and shrink our deficits. Independent economists have said that if the Senate bill became law over the next 2 decades, our economy would grow by $1.4 trillion more, and it would reduce our deficits by $850 billion more. And you don't have to be an economist to figure out that workers will be more productive if they've got their families here with them. They're not worried about deportation. They're not living halfway around the world. This isn't just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. Right now, it's up to Republicans in the House to decide if we can move forward as a country on this bill. If they don't want to see it happen, they've got to explain why. The good news is, just this past week, Speaker Boehner said that he is hopeful we can make progress on immigration reform. And that is good news. I believe the Speaker is sincere. I think he genuinely wants to get it done. And that's something we should be thankful for this week.
On immigration, she was interesting. She had a little bit of both here. Listen first when she talks about, woman said, what about President Obama, gentleman, I'm sorry, said President Obama is the deporter-in-chief. Would you stop that policy?
I mean, the horror of a father or a mother going to work and being picked up and immediately whisked away, and children coming home from school to an empty house and nobody can say where their mother or their father is. That is just not who we are as Americans.
So there she's saying she thinks fewer people already here who are working, who are not doing anything wrong after, obviously they broke the law to get here, but they should be able to stay. But listen to this. We've had this crisis in recent days of all these children stacking up in detention centers at the border. On that one, Hillary Clinton took a much tougher line, saying no, they can't stay.
They should be sent back as soon as it can be determined who responsible adults and their families are, because there are
It can't be
concerns
determined,
about
you
whether all
frickin'
of them should be
moron.
sent back, but I think all of them who can be should be reunited with their families.
That one there, I think the liberals are going to say, hey, wait a minute, right?
Yeah, I think so. And this was one example, I think, of from this town hall of her either taking both sides of many different controversial issues or being extremely cautious. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that after saying in one breath that the president should have more leeway on this issue and should be more sensitive to families, and then taking sort of like a harder line that you might hear from like a House Republican, and the next breath was actually pretty striking.
Well, she doesn't want to be seen as somehow enabling the sort of surge of illegal immigration across the border. But I think broadly watching that interview, John, I am struck by the fact that she is running to be the nominee of Barack Obama's party in 2016, not Bill Clinton's party in 92. This is a much more offensive, unapologetic brand of liberalism than I think her husband practiced, and it reflects how the country has changed and how her party has changed.
She's wrapping up all these interviews with the book tour now. It'll be interesting. Peter and Jonathan, thanks for coming in. As we get back to New York, it'll be interesting to see. Let's look a month from now to see if these numbers change. I just want to give you, as we get back to you guys, these numbers from the NBC Wall Street Journal poll. Is Hillary Clinton now?
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more, by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before, by cracking down on illegal hiring, by barring welfare benefits to illegal aliens. In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes, to better identify illegal aliens in the workplace as recommended by the commission headed by former Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. We are a nation of immigrants, but we are also a nation of laws. It is wrong and ultimately self-defeating for a nation of immigrants to permit the kind of abuse of our immigration laws we have seen in recent years, and we must do more to stop it.
What happened to these people? I mean, really, what happened to them? Lost their minds. It's the flavor of the day. Facts don't make a difference. It's how you feel. I feel like I'm a boy if I'm a girl. I feel like I'm a girl if I'm a boy. My favorite guest was a woman who decided she's not a woman, she's a man, and she became a man, which you can't do. You know, science is so important, you know, with the climate control, which is a whole other thing, but forget about sex and all of that stuff. Whatever you think you are, you think you're a black person, go ahead. You think you're an American Indian? Oh, yeah, I'm a 10 billionth Cherokee. Whatever you want to think is fine. It doesn't make a difference what actually is. So go ahead. If you want to live in your own little la-la land pretend world, well, then you're a Democrat. Go ahead and vote Democrat. We'll see what happens tonight. I'm hoping again for another slaughter, but, you know, statistically, it just ain't going to happen. And we'll see. I don't think it's going to stop Trump at all. I think Trump is going to go ahead and do whatever Trump does, because that's pretty much how it goes. That's how it goes in the old, wonderful, wide world. So no one's called me up. I'm really surprised. 800-699-0980. 800-699-0980. If you're going to call now, because I'm going to be ending this show shortly. There's some other things I wanted to talk about, but I don't know that they're so. Maybe another show we could get into Jew hatred, which is also another predominant thing that's going on in the Democratic Party. You know, they'll always point to, oh, those white nationalists. Well, nothing compared. Yeah, we know about the white nationalists. They're the fringe of the Republican Party. Just like the real intense Jew haters are the fringe of the Democratic Party. Only difference is that fringe is in control now. Most certainly, the inmates are running the asylum over there. Just wait. You'll see. If they take over the House, things go. You don't have your tax money. The economy fails. They'll be thrilled. Because then they got you where they want you to be. I don't know if it was one of Nixon's attorneys said this. Actually, it was like a plaque on his desk. I don't know if he's the originator of it, but basically, when you've got them by the balls, their hearts and minds will follow. And that's pretty much how it goes. So look, folks, go out there, vote. Make sure that your voice is heard. It's important. Vote sensibly, vote smart, vote your brain more than your heart. And we'll be speaking to you next time around on The Michael Blum Show. Remember, everything in life is possible. Fewer things are probable. One thing, though, is certain, and that's that you are alive. So go ahead and live your life to its fullest, because tomorrow is promised to nobody. Speak to you next week.